Now, as she returns, another player at high altitude leaves. Load shedding, rising debt, faulty power stations, and soon leaders. South Africa's toughest CEO position claims another chief executive. Eskom announces the resignation of Phakamani Hadebe due to health reasons. Now, he steps down from what he describes as a position that comes with unimaginable demands. This is why the power utility has not seen a CEO complete a term in the past 9 years. Now, how will this latest leadership change affect Eskom and ultimately us? Joining me in the studio tonight is specialist journalist Antoinette Slabbert, and Financial Mail Deputy Editor Sukunati Manchancha is on the line. Very good to have you both with us. Antoinette Slabbert, what happened?
Well, it's very difficult to know. Eskom is really not transparent. We know that many analysts have been asking, what is the position of the CEO? You know, there's a sustainability task team, there's a technical task team, there's a chief restructuring officer, which nobody really knows what it is, but something like that is going to be appointed. Where does that leave the CEO?
They keep adding layers,
yes,
and yet, I don't know, disguising the rot at the bottom or the middle or wherever it comes from.
Yes, and also blurring the lines of accountability. The CEO is the person who's supposed to lead the organization. And it's not an easy task. It's like having to change the engine of a car while it is running downhill at the edge of a cliff full speed with your hands tied behind your back. You cannot, you know, the first bold thing that he did last year was to announce that there won't be a wage increase. And then he was actually, Minister Gordon denies it, but it looked as if he was undermined by the minister.
And he said the opposite, didn't he?
Well, he said go back to the table. Yep. And in the end, the wage increases were very high. He's not allowed to retrench the 47,000 overstaffed organization. You know, it's really a very difficult job. And while government is delaying taking the hard decisions, the mountain of debt is just growing bigger and bigger.
Sukunati, is it an impossible job? I mean, it seems that it's very hard to be able to get any sort of work done. Do you think that was what was behind his resignation? Was he pushed?
Jane, it's certainly not an impossible job. It's an impossible shareholder. That is the major problem, as Antoinette has so correctly pointed out. And this has got nothing to do with or the current or the most recent Minister of Public Enterprises. All the ministers that have been the shareholder representatives of Eskom have been responsible, and a lot of them have introduced the corruption that has killed and paralyzed the institution. So what you need is a shareholder to get out of the way and let the management and the board to run the company.
How do you get the shareholder to get out of the way?
The shareholder decides what the policy is, and they step out of the way and hire a board which will hire a competent management team, give them the targets and hold them accountable to those. Don't come here and interfere with the management, with the running of the operation on a day-to-day basis. That's just one example that Antoinette correctly gave of the wage negotiations, where the Public Enterprises Minister came in and said, no, you will negotiate and you will give those people increases, those bust the inflation, and that all can be laid at the door of the shareholder. Today, municipalities are not paying for electricity, and the people in Soweto are not paying for electricity. It is not because Eskom cannot get them to pay, but the shareholder, which is the government, which is still looking for votes from those very non-paying people, it won't allow them to do their job.
Okay, now, Hadebe's time was short-lived. Let's take a listen to what he had to say about some of the challenges he's faced there.
I take both the bad and the good of Eskom. What I'm just trying to highlight is that the problem did not start this year. It's been the challenges that we're building up for quite some time. I just want to highlight, without being defensive, but we've been there for this short space of time.
Yes.
I don't think we'll have had energy and the time to deal with all these challenges. But I do take full responsibility.
I mean, no wonder he fell ill if that was indeed the reason behind him leaving. But he does leave now, and, you know, to this point. There's no corruption allegations about it or anything like that. So what sort of impact could somebody who was honest but possibly not effective or not allowed to do his job have on Eskom now going forward?
Well, I think the fact is we've got a sinking ship and there's no leadership. We don't even know who the political leader is going to be. That is up in the air at the moment. And we are very close to this train hitting the wall. You were asking now what should happen to get the shareholder out of the way. Maybe the train should hit the wall. Maybe the crisis must happen. And it's very close because Eskom is finalising its financial results at the moment. That's for the year ended end of March.
Yes, there seems to be some sort of dispute about the date. Is it July? Are we expecting it imminently?
We expected the release of the numbers in June. It seems to be dragging out until July, but around about that time. But the crucial thing is whether the auditors will sign off on Eskom as a going concern. At this stage, I don't think they can, because Eskom cannot fulfill its obligations as they fall due. And if that happens, if the statements are qualified on that basis, then Eskom's debt can become payable. Finance institutions can call on those debt obligations. And then we are, I mean, not Eskom is in trouble, the country is in serious trouble.
Sekunati, I mean, should that be the next step? Let it crash and burn so that those involved actually get it, that this is a national crisis and something needs to be done that could work?
The consequences of that would be too dire. Jane, if there was no electricity, you and I would not be talking right now, whether or not you guys are running up there. Just as a start, nothing works without electricity. We should not even want to get there. Telkom got so close 9 years ago that they had to bring in shareholders from the private sector and proper management with the shareholder. There was one minister called Tainapule at the time who was really running that train at a speed to crash at a wall. Once she was swept aside, the management was allowed to do what it does best. Today, Telkom is paying about 1 billion rand to the government in dividends. Eskom can do far more than that. You get the government out of the way, set the policy, and hire competent management and trust them to do their job. That is what is lacking in this country at this point.
And I guess, Antoinette, obviously the conversation's got to be had with the labour force. I mean, do you think they'll come to the table now? Is there some sort of understanding that the bloat on all levels needs to be reduced?
I'm afraid I don't think the understanding is there yet. Eskom had a conference call with some analysts this afternoon. They very clearly stated that media is not welcome at the call. But from feedback I got, one of the issues that Eskom, I think it was the chair who addressed them, raised was that there's resistance from the labour force to the whole idea of restructuring. Now, really, at this stage, I don't think the labour force should dictate. Not when you have 47,000 people who are not productive, who have really brought Eskom where it is at the moment. They are very competent people as well. But as a whole, the labour force cannot, they are not innocent with regards to where we are. So we have to face realities now, the labour force included.
And Sekunati, I mean, will we have to wait to hear what happens to Minister Gordhan and the public protector before we get possibly a replacement, because he leaves in July?
It really does not matter who the minister is. It matters what the government does. It can be Pravin Gordhan tomorrow, it can be anyone else. The fact of the matter is Eskom needs proper management. Eskom needs that management needs to be allowed to perform their jobs. And the first part of that task is to deal with the cost at Eskom. Parliament came in and said we don't have money to increase salaries, and he was stopped. There's a restructuring, there's job cuts that should happen. Labour knows that, of course, Turkeys don't vote for Christmas. What we do need now is people in the government and in the labour force to accept that there will be a short-term pain for a very long-term benefit, for the benefit of all the people of this country. And for that to happen, Eskom needs to be given a chance to survive. It does not matter who that chief executive is, as long as they are not allowed to do their job. It doesn't matter who is on the board. If they are not allowed to do their job, Eskom will go and crash.
Well, I hope we're not having this conversation in a couple of months' time. Sikanati, Antoinette, thank you very much.